Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's 8:15. Means it's another time for another interview. And tonight we're celebrating the life and times of one Mr. Christopher Hepworth, who was born on May 4th, 1980. So we're going to do a bit of an interview about his life and the things he's done. We did a good connection. David Jarman, hello, welcome along to the Chris Hepworth interview, which hopefully is going to join the chat very soon. And Chris hopefully knows how to join the chat. So hello everybody else watching this on either YouTube on a rerun or on live on Facebook or on a... Ah, you're there, Chris. There he is. So, Chris, if you'd like to join the chat, you know how to join the chat. I know it is a very special day, May 4th, 1980. I hope you got your headphones ready, Chris. You got a request to join the chat, and we're going to be doing this. Quite a few people watching. Hope you're all doing well. As it normally takes a few moments. Got to request to join the chat. Some people it says I can bring on camera. I could bring David Jarman on camera. Oh, where is laptop good? Go on the iPhone, Chris. Go on the iPhone. iPhone is the one. And then if you sort of turn it sideways, it has a little button at the bottom, which is just before the comments section, and you can join the chat. So go on your iPhone, and you should be able to join the chat. And yeah, we'll see if hopefully we can get you on. How's everybody else doing? I hope you're all okay today. This is another in our series of interviews that we're doing with musicians, artists, people, poets all over the world, mostly in the UK, though we have had a few USA ones, and we're hopefully going to have Chris join this chat with his headphones. 14 people watching. This is a hot interview, Chris. Hope we can get you on here. 15 people watching. Stay with us. My name is Matt Roberts, Bedford, UK. Hope you're safe and well in this crazy time we're living in. Has Chris managed to get on yet? There he is. Okay, here he comes. Everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Hepworth. So,
Right.
Chris, is there an echo, or is it all right?
It's sounding good where I am. I've got this, and I've got the wrong phone for this.
Oh, okay. Let's risk it with a bit of echo then.
Okay, fine. I'm looking. I did have my headphones somewhere, but I can't find them.
Don't worry. Well,
I found them.
He's found them. Okay, we'll put the headphones in before we start chatting.
Okay.
So we're going to we'll do the proper intro.
Here we go. Hang on, I need to share it and tell people about this. And hang on. Right. Hang on. Do that.
Okay. Hang on. There they are. Okay, your headphones are in. Oh, nice and loud. Nice and loud. That's good.
I'm in.
So, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, is that good?
Yeah, this is Chris Hepworth, and today is a very, very special day for this gentleman, because this gentleman was born on the 4th of May in 1980. So, ladies and gentlemen, happy birthday and happy returns, Chris Hepworth.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
How has your day been?
It's been schooling. There was just fun, and why can't I do this? Hang on, I want to get it on my Chris Sings page as well. Hang on, and share too. What's that? That's an event or page I manage. Yeah, hang on. I sound like I know what I'm talking about, and I don't. There we go. Okay. Posted. Yes, it's been a great day.
You've done a great day.
Yeah, I've opened many cards. I very deliberately told everyone that I wanted to have a good 40th birthday and that they should send me cards and ask me for my address, and it worked. So I've got just dozens and dozens downstairs, which was
a beautiful
lovely
thing.
Yes.
So, well, many happy returns. And how is, in these times on these interviews, how has lockdown been for you? Have you been getting through it okay?
Yeah, I really like it. It suits me very well.
It suits you very well.
Yeah, I quite like not doing anything and having my own company. And we've actually got a friend living with us from since before the beginning of lockdown. His kids live just around the corner. So yeah, that was all very deliberate and planned. So I've got company. I've got adult company, which is great.
Yeah.
And yeah, so but I've been eBaying just everything that I've got, all my retro games and radio control cars and things like that. And
So, yeah, okay.
yeah, filling up the bank account, which was always the plan anyway.
In the
It's just
lockdown.
that, well, just long term, it's just
Yeah.
kind of finding the moment for it. They were investments. They were very deliberate investments,
So,
and while it might look like they were just toys and for fun, actually the whole point was to
was investing,
cash
yeah.
in on, yeah, and in on not in your knowledge really, and just, you know, as with you and um your musical instrument and
Yeah,
tech and stuff knowledge, you I think you have to play to your strengths,
you
and
do. So
you got to go, hey, that's a bargain, are you
uh,
sure? Yeah, I'm sure,
it's a
you know.
bargain. So,
And
you've got your Star Wars T-shirt on, May the
I
4th.
have, yeah, I
Yeah,
had that laid out last night before I went to bed. That's what I'm wearing today. So,
that's a brilliant thing. So, for those of you, this is going to be on YouTube and everywhere, Chris. So, Chris
lovely.
is. Let's see if you're happy with this description. Chris is a
Okay.
singer, guitarist. Yes. Oh yeah, yeah. He's a singer, guitarist, songwriter, sound engineer, and
Yeah.
recordist. Is there anything else in your resume that before we start talking about all
Oh,
that?
as far as music goes, that's and performance goes, that's it. I don't dance,
You don't dance.
so
That's
um, but as yeah, and I've done many things, many different professions over the years, which have all kind of helped out at times, and you know, installed PA systems and
wow.
been a cabinet maker and furniture maker and email marketer and event manager and all that kind of thing.
So we've got a rocking 20 people watching. So that's great. So this is
Nice.
which is lovely on the.
Mine only says 13. Maybe I've blocked more people than I realise, or I've been blocked by more people than I realise.
Well, we're going to keep it. This is the time for all the love. But anyway, so it's Chris Hepworth's birthday. So, Chris, as far as being a singer performer, which you've been doing your Chris Sings lives and things, take us right back to the start. When did all this guitaring, singing start for you?
Okay. So I come from a musical family, not professionally, but as a very musically influenced and performing family. Even my granddad was a jazz drummer and pianist as well. Back, you know, sort of shortly after the war and that kind of thing. So I started playing music from age of 4 or 5, just at school. Played the recorder, then
Wow.
played brass, then played piano. And my dad was always a guitarist and singer, did kind of folk stuff and stuff in church as well. So when I was 13, I picked up the guitar and got a little bit of help from my dad, mostly self-taught. And initially it was stuff in church, you know, and for some people that kind of drums up organs and choirs, but actually for a lot of churches, you know, for the last 30 years, actually that's drums, guitars, basses, and, you know, big PA systems. So that's where that kind of kicked off. But I was very quickly in a band. My brother is a drummer and he's a producer now. He runs a studio over in Essex, and he had some friends who needed a singer for their band. So they were a couple of years younger than me, but they'd heard that I could sing and asked me to join their band. And we were, but 90s, that was one of only maybe 2 bands in the whole school, which is a very different scenario to today, where I think every young man and most, you know, most young ladies all sing, perform, play an instrument. So
Yes.
yeah, so it's quite fun to be, you know, for it to be a bit special, really. And yeah, and we just did, you know, parties, mainly, you know, parents, friends parties, and that kind of thing, and the village and school fetes and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So going back to those kind of early '90s days, who were you? Who were your music? Who people did you look up to? What
Mm.
musicians and artists and performers are you big
Yeah.
fans of?
So I think I kind of missed the boat on following musicians really and being um, captivated by musicians and was far more into songs and singer and bands and their songs. So Counting Crows were my first true
Cool.
love in
Yeah.
as far as music went. Although the first album I remember owning was Bad, on cassette.
Wow, this is a good story. This is on your
Reading
board. This is
that,
good. So your
and
first album.
we got it the week it came out.
So,
As
yeah.
probably most of the world did, and or actually it might have been around Christmas time. I don't know
It was a
what
big.
month it
I
came
mean,
out.
just to point out to some of the younger viewers, like getting a cassette when you were like, well, for you 7 years
Six,
old, six,
yeah,
seven.
six,
It
seven,
was a
yeah,
major event. I mean, this was like,
yeah,
Chris, we can't tell you what a big event it was to get an album,
absolutely,
and you made that album kind of last for a long time, and
yeah, yeah.
get into the vibe of stuff. So
Yeah, and just being that musical kind of background in the family. I remember we had Thriller as well. My parents had that on vinyl, so we had a recorded cassette of that in the car. And all of those songs, all of those albums, we would listen to not as individual songs, but as albums. So, and that was true of compilations as well. So I remember there was a Love Songs compilation that my parents bought with Tiger Points from the SO garage,
oh yeah,
and it had
yes, I remember that.
completely misunderstood by 7-year-old me. It had Move Closer by
Yeah.
uh who Gladys Knight, no, is that it? I can't remember.
Sarah Cooper is saying you also get to
Oh,
learn how to time to rewind the songs if you want
oh yeah,
to
absolutely,
repost that
yeah,
song on
like you're
cassette.
counting to like 10 seconds if you want 5 minutes of, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, that's
um Yeah, absolutely. So we'd listen to these albums, and if you played me through Thriller or Bad now, I could pitch you the next song off the back of the other one, and kind of that this was a development of a musical ability. But you knew the album almost as one song, because Bad would come to the end and it would start here, and here would be the tempo of the next song, or here would be the pitch of the next song. And the same with even compilations that my dad had recorded off the radio or made. And actually there was this tape my parents had, and it was one of those things I became a little bit obsessed about a year and a half ago, like recreating this tape on Spotify, because it's gone. My parents threw all their cassette tapes away, but
oh
these were
man.
the songs I grew up with. So it had Five Star, and it had
The
Chicago,
slightest
and
touch. Yeah.
what was the guy from? Oh no, the guy from Chicago, the voice.
Oh, the guy from Chicago, Peter Cicero. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So the Power of
Tonight
Love,
we're very clear. The
yeah,
glory of love.
just amazing, Glory of Love,
We're both
and
lying here.
just
Right,
amazing. So
good,
all
good.
these songs, and there was Stevie Wonder on there, and there was the MASH theme, and all this kind of thing. And I don't have access to that tape anymore, but I kept waking up every morning and going, "Oh, there was another song that was on it," and often having to look up that song. So there were all these, but it was all about songs, and I wasn't like destined to be a guitarist or anything, and being obsessed with Stevie Ray Vaughan, or even one of my favorite ever songs is Layla. But I, I'd love to be able to play that, and I always wanted to be able to play that, but I can't. But I wasn't going. I want to be the guitarist. I was kind of going. The song is amazing, and
You were led by the
um,
song. You were very impressed with the
yeah,
songs.
yeah.
Christine Davidge says, "I remember your dad's car tapes."
Oh yes. Bon
Bon
Jovi,
Jovi.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Christine I've known for 37 years or so. So we didn't grow up living close to each other, but we grew up knowing each other for our whole lives. And so yeah, so a lot of my history, my youth, Christine knows about. So yeah, having cassettes in the car. I remember actually at Christine's house recording Bryan Adams' album coming along prepared with some blank tapes because I knew her dad had the Bryan Adams album. So
That's a good story.
that was my purpose that weekend while we were visiting that family, was to get a copy
to sit
of
and record
that
your
album.
dad, Christine's dad's. That's a great story.
Absolutely.
So, and as you were sort of growing up, did you start to, because you're very much into the songs, singing the songs, did you start to sort of build up a bit of a repertoire on guitar and sing a voice? Tell us a bit about that.
Certainly. So I got into the Britpop indie sound and scene, really. So my first proper signed band I ever saw was Shed 7
that's a good one.
at Essex University, and those are the bands I really got into, buying all the Shine albums, having all of the Britpop albums like Echo Belly and Sleeper and Suede and all Menswear.
I remember Menswear, 1995.
Yeah. Just brilliant, just amazing. And so again, it was all about the songs, and the Wannadies were a big one.
I know Sarah Cooper is
Sarah
saying,
Cooper,
you and me. I mean, I love that song too. It's a great. Yeah.
So again, Sarah Cooper, I kind of grew up. She was at boarding school in Bath, but we kind of shared a lot of our youth just through connection, family and church and summer connections kind of thing, and her whole family, and these, we would share these. It was very much this is amazing. I want to share this. I want all my friends to hear this. Making copies, making those mixtapes, and so I started to build up certainly those songs that I knew and loved, and as well as knowing them on, knowing to play them on the guitar. So for me, Mr. Jones by Counting Crows was probably one of the first ones I learned, because I wanted to learn that song. And then just kind of, having a band that had a repertoire of probably 40 songs, and just playing, young bands play for way longer than older bands. I think, we'd get away with, 12 songs in a set and pack it up and go home. But I think I seem to remember just having dozens and dozens of songs, TerrorVision, but also being in a band with a proper guitarist as well, who is now just an exceptional guitarist, blues guitarist. And but back then, kind of finding this middle ground where I'm going, oh, let's play Counting Crows, and them going, no, absolutely, and Radiohead, but them hating that music and wanting to play Ugly Kid Joe and all the kind of proper music that they were learning, that they were listening to, their dad was introducing them to. And him having that ability as well, he, being able to quite easily play, we'd play Run to You, Bryan Adams, or we'd play, he, in between songs, he'd be cracking out a Joe Satriani song or something, which, was this...
Which was a maestro, very much a virtuoso guitarist.
Absolutely. And we were just worlds apart, because I'm playing all these strummy out songs, Oasis and whatever it might be. So, so certainly those songs that I might play now, a lot of them I have played since I was 15. And actually, it was the older songs that I had to then add in, because I was just all about the Britpop. When you're that age, you're just playing what you like. And
I guess that was, if you've been born in 1980, so you were 16, sort of 15, 16, 95, 96, 17 in the third summer of love, as I call it, in 97. And in the late 90s, what sort of places do you remember your first public gig, your first time that you went out and played somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, we'd often... So if there was a charity day, like a Children in Need Day or something, we would just say to the teachers, oh, we want to do a gig at lunchtime. And we would get permission to get off the lesson earlier and set up. And that was quite thrilling and quite exciting, because, imagine you're at school and you can either go and hang out on the benches or hang out down the playground. But on this particular day, there's a band playing in the hall. So who's not going to come and see the band? So suddenly there's 800 kids in the school hall, and we're playing to 800 other kids. And that was always very exciting, to have this captive audience and feel like, oh, they are all here. Actually, the reality is, well, what else were they going to do? Go and eat their lunch in the corridor.
But at the time, you get to experience a little bit of AL. A few people wishing you good happy birthday. At the time you get to experience those first gigs and that kind of first.
And you kind of leap over your nerves. I kind of don't I don't think you can appreciate what some people go through when they're getting up to do their first open mic at 25 years old or 32 years old or 45 years old. When you were, and when I was at primary school, we were doing these, theatre productions every year. Everyone in the school did it. It wasn't optional. So we kind of all eliminated our nerves very early on. So actually, if you were to say to a lot of people, oh, there's going to be 800 of your school friends in the school hall and you're going to play to them, so that could be quite nerve-wracking. But having played brass, in a band, having played recorder, at the church service on a whatever, perhaps that really helps.
Yeah, it helps your nerves. So,
yeah.
And then,
so then,
go on.
So then there were friends. I remember the first paying gig was a friend's party at this massive house. It was the guitarist dad's brother's house, and he had this, and he was so posh. He had carpet in the downstairs toilet, and I don't know why I remember that. but they had this. They had this lush house, and there we were playing this band, and we all got 20 quid at the end of the night.
And that's an amazing feeling. It's an amazing feeling.
Yeah,
that first ever.
Going, oh yeah, I made 20 quid on, and it was, and they're all really encouraging, all these people our parents' age who are kind of huddled round, egging us on to do really well. And that was always, that's just an amazing thing. And then, school fetes and things where you just got to play to a field full of people, and it was, but you are kind of a highlight, and that's something that I think music does. It's this thing that happens and that it impacts everyone who's within hearing distance of it. So you play at a public event, and oh yeah, we were the band just playing, is a big deal. So then so then I went to, when I was 18, I went off to a music college. It was a Christian music college, and they did kind of Bible stuff and music. So we were kind of encouraged to do pub gigs and that kind of thing, to get better at what we're doing. We were all learning these songs week on, week out, and bring them together for our performance workshop on a Friday afternoon. But actually going out there and doing something with it was the more important thing.
And did you, and at that sort of time, when you were that kind of age, did you have wanting to write your own songs? Did you have that feeling as well?
Yeah, and I remember sitting down even with my recorder at the family piano, thinking I want to write a song, trying to write a melody, and having no idea how to go about it. And at various times, I used to write a lot of poetry when I was younger. To my, with friends, usually female friends, we'd exchange letters all week long. We'd write poetry.
That's a beautiful romantic.
Full of them. Lovely. I've got drawers full of the letters, and.
Have you still got them?
Got them? Not mine. I assume they've looked after theirs.
Yes.
But I've got all the letters I used to receive, and but yeah, you'd write these poems, and they were, in our minds, they were these amazing things, and trying to say something that you didn't say elsewhere, really. But then the Giles Girls song, Sarah Cooper says. So there's so Sarah Cooper is the eldest of 6 sisters. So there's the Giles Girls song, is this song about how I want to date each of them, and they've all got their individual reasons for not wanting to.
So who are the Giles Girls then?
So they live down. Their family home is down in Barton-le-Clay.
Oh, okay. So was Sarah one of the Sarah Giles?
Yeah.
Then before
there's Sarah, Becca, Esther, Jude, Hannah, and Bethany. So, so each of them. So the I can't remember the song. It's is Sarah gonna dance with me? Come on, let's go. 1, 2, 3. And this was one of the lines. But then Sarah has all these reasons, and I think by then even Sarah's reason was that she's got a husband, but then Esther had her art, so she couldn't. So that was far too much for a distraction, and and it was just a bit funny. Anyway, I don't know why I'm saying so much about this.
It's your day. It's your day. And did you enjoy the songwriting being creative?
that was, I mean, that was such a joke song, and everyone was in on it, and everyone was, so kind of part of it. But most of my songwriting has happened in my bedroom at night, and it's been me who's critiqued it. So by morning, it's found its way to the bottom of the bin, and
Ah,
yeah, no, and it's just, and I think this is wherever this comes from, but I have this kind of perfectionist um, attitude to certain things where I go, oh well, no, if it's not amazing, if it's not something that Dave Grohl or John Mayer or these are the people that I listen to and look up to now. If it's not something they would write, then it's not good enough for anyone to hear. So I kind of, oh yeah, a song for Scott and Christine before Mamie was born, a parody of Linger, which doesn't surprise me. So there
so
we go.
Chris
That's
was like your
Christine.
brother, and Sarah says you were like their brother.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you'll
So,
see. Yeah, we're close as family, and we share Christmases together or Christmas celebrations together, and
but with the songwriting, you,
yeah,
you felt that it had to be everything you wrote. You really harsh on yourself. Then is that you?
yeah. So as a result, nothing got out there. I never
Yeah.
even got to play those first few songs and have someone
Oh.
go, "Oh, that was amazing." Can I help you work on the chorus or whatever it might be, that thing, or hey, look, your that fourth song just wasn't as good as those other three. You need to stop doing that fourth one and just do those three. Wait until you've got or whatever
Yeah,
that
that kind
criticism
of
or
yeah, I get you.
feedback would have been. So I just so there are songs out there at the bottom of waste paper bins, but
So do you,
they've never
and sort of
been heard.
do you still do you like these days, and certainly in the time like we're in now, do you get a desire to write songs or
Definitely a desire, yeah, and I think that's what I want to. That's for my 40th,
yeah?
41st year actually.
Could we lay it
Um,
down now that Chris
that's it.
Hepworth is saying on the
One
4th of May, 40 years after he
one
was born?
one a week,
Yeah,
one
you
song
can.
a week needs to be out there, and I think that's a kind of challenge that would just nurture a better songwriter. So
Yeah, well,
um,
I think we should lay that all your friends and family and people that are watching and people that love you. We should lay that challenge down to you now. Even if
yeah,
it's one song a month, if
yeah.
you can do one song a month, starting with and so Christine Devitt says now you've got to get them done.
I see
So
that.
let's and then you've got to tag a few people, including myself, in the post of your song.
Yeah.
And so we're going to lay this down, guys. Chris Hepworth is going to be writing songs.
And
Um,
there are so many starts of songs in my voice memos on my phone.
yeah,
Little
ideas and
ideas
things.
or yeah, and they, there's I think when you do those songwriting workshops or you do those purposeful things, you take an idea and you go with it and you see it through, whether or not it's a good idea or not, because it's this task. And I think if I
Yes.
approach songwriting like that and went right now, I'm going to see this through, I'm going to finish it, because even if it's not a good song now, this experience makes for better songwriting in the future.
Absolutely. There's
Just practice,
hi Mark, Mark
just as we
Layton
do
watching.
anything else. So, hey, Mark.
Yeah, it's
Um,
Chris's birthday.
so
So
just as we practice playing the guitar and we practice singing, we should practice songwriting as well and go right. Okay, it wasn't very good, but neither was my first bar chord. But it got better.
I hope you're well as well, Mark.
Yeah,
Lovely
hey
man
Mark,
there.
you're doing all right.
Yeah. So Chris, so tell us how you got into another thing that Chris does. Yeah, happy birthday, Mark says. So, for
Thank
your birthday.
you.
Tell us how you got into sound engineering. How did that come about? Because
Yeah,
obviously
so
you
that
come from this
yeah,
performance.
kind of through church a bit, just having there's a need there for sound to happen, and just cracking on with it and figuring it out. And when I went off to music college, there was a PA system ready for us to use on our first Friday afternoon performance, and no one else was setting it up. So I just kind of got on with it and just learnt by doing. So by the time I and with the bands as well, you've got to know a bit of sound to be able to get your band up and running and sounding good. And
Yeah, yeah.
I did enough. I mean, that's one thing one thing I've been eBaying is all of my old brochures and manuals for sound equipment. So I'd go into a music shop and just pick up off the shelf all these
free, some of them are quite
brochures.
collectible now.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I made £10 off of a Mesa Boogie, catalogue the other day. That's something that I picked up for free. And there's another older one to go as well. And there's a box full of them. But I'd read through this, and it would describe, what in the marketing it's going. Oh, it's got these inputs. It's got a combined XLR and jack input. And what does that mean? Read a bit further and just see a bit more detail about it. See what balanced input and a non-balanced input was. And even reading brochures could teach me a lot before even
you got hands-on experience.
Yeah. And so it was just kind of interest to me. And I emailed a band that I knew, asking if they wanted a roadie, because I'd heard of a roadie. And so I said, oh, when you're doing your tour, can I come and roadie for you? And heard nothing back, but ran into the band at an event. And the guy said, I've been meaning, I hoped you'd be here. I want to speak to you. And oh, yeah, great. And tour and be our roadie. We've got a sound engineer, we've got a lighting engineer. We just need someone to help with setting up and being part of the crew. So I went and did that for the first tour, and then the second tour I got paid, 25 quid a gig, and then it kind of went on from there.
You built it up from there.
Yeah. And you just got to be around it and see what happens and ask questions. And people any sound engineer who sees someone with a genuine interest, who's not just wasting your time, I think, we'll go, oh yeah, come and learn something.
Come and learn some things. And so, I mean, it must be you've Chris has engineered quite a few big gigs now. And is it quite nerve-wracking when you're in a big venue and you're in charge of everything that's going on? Obviously, you have on-stage engineers as well. And tell us a bit about that. How do you cope with all those?
So you are responsible, and you've got, it all kind of falls down to you. And it's a bit different when you're with the band, because you're responsible for their sound and their sound. So I turned up on we did a gig with a band called Bromhead's Jacket that I tour managed and did sound for about 3 years. We travelled around Europe, we went to America. But there was a show in England at the Nottingham Ice Arena with the Strokes. So they've been invited to do an opening set. And there's not enough time for a sound check. And
when you're the opening act,
yeah, but everyone there is there to make it happen. So like the guy who's engineering the room, the guy who's been there all day setting up, says, look, do you want me to set it up for you and I'll let you mix? So they're dialing in the sounds, they're probably recalling on a digital desk recorded sounds that they've got, and then they're handing it over to you, because where the
where things should sit.
And where in the song the big drum solo is, and where the bit is where he does loads on the floor tom, or where the bass needs to drive really hard, or the backing vocal needs to come through. So there's a difference there when you're mixing to when you're kind of doing the whole engineering part, and that's slightly more nerve-wracking, because you've only got yourself to reference. You kind of dial it in, you go, I think this is as good as it could sound, because you've always got the limitations of the room and the equipment and whatever it is, particularly in a small venue. You're kind of going, man, this is as good as I can get it. I just hope, and I think you work up to the point where people, instead of going, oh, it doesn't sound as good as the band last night, mate, to the point where where people are going, oh wow, this is amazing. And I was one of the in-house engineers at the Horn pub in St Albans. So I did every Tuesday night and
very
some
very
Fridays
famous
and
venue.
Very famous venue. Yeah. The Horn Reborn, the Horn of Plenty.
And
that's where really kind of got to really know how to sound engineer and how to make it work well. And you've got bands who come sound engineer, you're just trying to make it sound as good as you can for them, usually in a 5-minute sound check. So you learn pressure, that kind of with rubbish equipment.
And so when you've done with all this different experience, you've kind of experienced what it is to be a performer, a sound engineer. So you've got a good and that's really held you in good stead yourself. Is it you
Yeah.
kind of know what needs to be done? If you're up there singing and you kind of thinking, I can't hear something.
Yeah, I mean, and quite early on, when I was 23, I was with a band who we were playing to. The biggest audience I not played with, I was working on with them, was 80,000 people at the Minneapolis something dome. I can't remember what it's called.
Millennium Dome, Cardiff.
No, this was in America.
Oh, in America, okay.
Yeah, in Metrodome, it's called, the Minneapolis Metrodome, which eventually collapsed because the ceiling is held up by the air inside the building.
Yeah.
So look that one up. It's a very interesting.
And
so we're doing these massive.
Cool you've been there,
Yeah, and we're just doing these massive gigs and learning how a big gig works, learning, what's, I guess the things to think of. You've got to. Even down to when the singer is speaking, they need to be heard. When they're saying something to the audience, it needs to be loud enough and clear enough that it can be heard. So then when you're the performer and you're thinking about that, right, I want to say something to the audience now, how am I going to make sure this is heard? Because you perhaps haven't got a sound engineer with you. Yeah. So and that applies between your pub gigs right up to your 80,000.
Yeah, I know they share a lot of similarities, don't they?
Yeah, definitely.
People sort of say it's a world away. So so happy birthday again, and I'm sure everybody watching is sending their happy birthday love to you. 4th of May 1980, my favourite year. What, having all this experience you've gained over the last 20 years, are the things you'd like to do moving forward now? Hopefully, when we come out of this lockdown, what are the things? Be writing a few songs, which will hold you to. Or get involved with creatively. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think, I mean, on reflection of the lockdown and everything that's gone on, but also kind of perhaps being a little less, I don't know, maybe it comes with better confidence, is going, okay, what could happen that would make for something that could grow, something that you can put time into and see happen. And I think that's, perhaps for the younger people, or for a scene that needs to grow up somewhere. And it needs to, it'd be great to be, what thing is, when you're, as when you're relying on the music for your income and for your earnings, and you don't know where the next one's coming from or how the next month's going to look, it's very easy to go, no, everything I do I need to get paid for, get money for. And actually I kind of envy that person who has an income already and can go, actually, I'm kind of set. I've got my essentials covered. So what am I going to put a bit of extra into? What do I want to see grow?
Yeah.
Because if someone if someone wants to give me £300 every Tuesday afternoon to run an open mic at their cafe, I'm well up for it. But that's not going to happen. But hang on a minute, but it's the thing I really believed in. So actually, I should probably just go and do it anyway, which would be far more satisfying, not far more satisfying necessarily, but it would be as satisfying. And so seeing something that I really want to put into.
And I think Adrian, who's just joined, Adrian Shepherd, we should definitely do a shout out. One thing that is said about Mr. Chris Hepworth, you've done a lot to help very young people have a platform and a stage. So tell us a bit about that.
So I started teaching for Music for Bedford Borough, which ended up being essentially just help on a Saturday morning, being employed to teach at a music school held at one of the schools and running the rock band. But they were keen to get out and perform. So we started a thing which kind of slowed down and didn't take off at the Bedford Esquires at Danny's Bar, and just so that they can get on a stage and perform. And I guess going back to what we said earlier, getting over that, going, I've played at Esquires, no big deal,
and
they're only 10 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that can grow. And I kind of slowed it down because, being a single dad myself and kind of dragged because he had nothing else to do, but wasn't really into it, made it quite difficult to maybe sustain that and go, look, I really want to do this because he gets a lot out of it, versus I don't want to do this because he's getting dragged along and it's 3 hours, which he's utterly bored. So, you know, there's kind of a thing where I'd like to find a way to make that
making
happen,
it fun
really.
and inspiring
and
people.
it definitely, but I could have had some longevity to it if it wasn't a struggle for me personally. But that's how you get something to grow. You know, the open mic that's full and every night didn't happen that way on week one, or it might have done on week one because it was a novelty, but it didn't happen, you know, through
on week
those
5.
through those rainy nights, through those cold nights, through when there was something else going on that was more interesting. But actually, it takes time to build something into something that's got some
longevity.
And some momentum. And so I guess that's what I'd like to do as far as broad picture goes. And as far as kind of more detailed and musically for myself, I think I want to, you know, like getting down to the real details, throw out all those crap songs that I do and replace them with genuinely, you know, because there's half my set where, you know, they're really great songs and I perform them really well, and it's made up with this fluff in between. So it's having and only performing really great songs
that you can really relate to, you know, like songs that you really love. And obviously in the job of, you know, providing covers entertainment and stuff, you have to do songs that maybe you might be thinking, okay, you know.
And there's the wedding songs that everyone wants to hear, but, you know, keeping them for weddings instead of, you know, if someone yells out, you know, play My Girl or play, you know, Brown Eyed Girl or something else with the word girl in it, then
or the Beatles Girl.
There you go. And, you know, there are these songs which are quite that okay, if someone really wants to hear it, great, I know it, let's play it. But actually, when they feel like fillers, I think, for me, and I want to make sure that, you know, I'm playing a set where there are no fillers.
It's all killer. Killer, no filler.
All killer, absolutely. And songs I do well, you know, songs I do really well. You know, I want to, you know, there are a few songs where people go, wow, that was really great, you play that really well. And I want every song to be like that. And the songs that are really, they say, oh, that's really great, you played that really well, are the ones I've spent time on. So the key is I better spend some time on all of them and make them all good and choose the good ones.
Well, that's fantastic. Looking forward to that. So, and
yes.
So Chris is. Is there any way people can hear your music? Tell us a bit about your social media, because this is going to be on YouTube, Facebook, and shared. So tell us.
Cool. So it's really easy if you just search Chris Sings on Facebook or go to chris-sings.com. It'll take you straight to the Facebook, and that tends to be where I put the music out there. And there are various bands as well, but they're all kind of shared through there anyway.
But I think it's worth mentioning that Chris is in this time been an excellent lockdown live performer. He's been doing
not the last couple of weeks, but
So how's that been for you then? If you see, you kind of, because being someone who's done some lockdown lives myself, some days are more you're feeling it more than others. Would you say that's a fair?
Yeah. It's hard to get in the mood for it, definitely, and people's response on the chat thing helps without a doubt.
Yeah, it does.
But you can't. I don't think I found it difficult to just go, yeah, I'm going to turn it on and be, you know, great or be enthusiastic every time.
Yeah.
So, but that's probably a personal thing as well. It's just a case of going, well, that's part of being a performer. So just turn it on and.
Because someone said to me actually last night, it's kind of online busking almost, isn't it? It's,
definitely.
It's online busking. But,
man, the feedback you get on Facebook, you know, you there's some funny statistics. You kind of, you know, you look at the corner of the screen and you've got no more than, let's say, 25 watching at a time. But when you turn that off, it says that your post reached over 1,000 people.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
Then when you read down to the statistics, it tells you that it gets down and it says, you know, 600 people watched for less than 3 seconds. So it was on their screen, and they didn't, you know, maybe they clicked it and quickly shut it, or maybe they just scrolled past it. So, and that is just like being at the, the shopping centre.
Yeah,
and busking.
It is a little bit of what's the word, like, needle in a haystack. It is like a
Yeah, yeah.
massive, but things do shine through, and Chris,
Mm.
you do mean stuff to different people, and we've had a lot of your friends on this live, so we just want to say happy birthday, and here's to you celebrating the stuff you've done. So if you do want to get in touch with Chris for any music or engineering, do you contact him on Facebook or any of the social medias. So Chris, it's your birthday tonight. What are you going to do for the rest of the night?
Well, we're part the way through Rise of the Skywalker.
I watched that yesterday, and it is. Have you seen it yet?
I have. Yeah, I saw it when at the cinema.
It's a great Rise. You're a massive fan as well. I'm a big fan of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Well, look, we just want to say on behalf of myself and everyone who's watched this interview, thank you for coming on, especially taking the time out on your birthday, and especially in the middle of Rise of Skywalker.
Right in the middle. Dessert next as well.
Birthday, Chris. Safe.
Oh, I've got a bit of an echo.
See you next 4 years.
Cool. You've frozen a bit, but I think you're saying goodbye.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so thank you, Chris, and we'll definitely see you soon. So thank you so much.
Bless you. See you later.
Thank you, Chris. Bye.
Bye.